I guess for both of you, one of the questions I had written down was uh, I've always wondered goalie coaches are working with the goalies, and then you've got a staff. And Pasco, in your book, you use the term collaboration.
Right.
And I was really intrigued about that because it tied into a story that David told me years ago about Kiprasov. And, you know, you've got to know as a coach and the goalie how the team is playing in their zone. You have to know the structure that they have to play within. And putting it simple, playing 2-on-1s, the conventional way is to keep the shooter on the outside and don't let him pass it across. Theoretically, um, I'm assuming at the NHL that that's what they would do, but I'm not sure they play 2-on-1s similarly, conventionally that way. And Dave, the story you told me years ago was how your team, or it may have been Dave Lowry coaching the Flames, adjusted to your team adjusted to giving overplaying the puck carrier Kiprasov one of the pass across. You recall that?
Yeah, well, one of the first times I heard about that was Dominic Hasek.
Hey Siri, hydrogen production.
He absolutely wanted to pressure the puck, and his thought process was, I'll play a deeper game on a 2-on-1. You guys be aggressive on the puck carrier, and I will read the pass, and I will attack once that pass is sent over. I want you guys to pressure the puck so that the player that is receiving the puck on the other side, he has to deal with receiving the puck properly, finding holes, and I'll attack that player once it's made. So, you know, we kind of use that. We're looking at the type of individual that Mika Kiprasov was, and he was one of the only goaltenders in the NHL at the time that was ultra flexible and an amazing skater. That even though he needed to play a more aggressive game on a 2-on-1, his excuse me, I just want to message. Hold and accept. Excuse me. Send to voicemail. Sorry. And his flexibility allowed him to make that backdoor save on a 2-on-1. So, to me, there's different ways of playing it, and I had that conversation many times with Robin Regier and Denny Gauthier with the Calgary Flames. A 2-on-1, there is no proper way of. There's not one way of playing it. If you are attacking or spooking, Rhett Warner would spook the puck carrier entering the zone, and then take the other player. But a 2-on-1, you look at the end result of a 2-on-1, and there are many options. The righty passing to a lefty or lefty passing to a righty. There are many options. So you look at the end result, and if it worked out, it ends up being the proper way of playing that 2-on-1. So it's understanding what you have in terms of your goaltender. If you have an oversized goalie, he can play a little bit deeper. If you have an undersized goalie, it'll be very interesting to see Dustin Wolf here. He reminds me a lot of Mika Kiprasov in terms of his ultra flexibility and his great skating. But to see how they will be, coordinating together on the 2-on-1 to see how they master that, simplify the 2-on-1 and take away those scoring chances.
Pasco, in your book, the amount of details and awareness of what a goalie has to see and interpret to position properly and react to situations, it's really remarkable. And I don't know if every goalie coach is able to communicate with that degree of detail, and whether players appreciate it. Does it just take a an academic type goalie who's totally willing to listen to anything? Um, is your information, what about the right stuff, the right amount, and the right time? You're working with goalies, you know what they are like. Like coaches, we say you can be doing too much, you can be talking too much. There's an art to mentoring goalies, there's an art to coaching. I guess I'm saying is how much information is too much, and how do you respond to that when you're delivering it and adapt to that?
That's a great question. And, in reality, you guys do this all the time with coaching, whether you're coaching a young group of athletes or you're coaching a group of pros. But most importantly, it's to take the curriculum, the information, and only assign it and only teach to a certain degree or to certain levels. So, for example, if you're teaching a 2-on-1, and Robin Lehner was the same way that Dave was talking as well. He prefers to deal with the pass, not the player with the puck. The least amount of time that the player has to catch, control, and release the puck, the better it is for Robin Lehner. So in this particular case, it's not right or wrong, it's just preference. So then the first thing that I would use so that the defenseman would have a cue for the goaltender is what hand is the receiving player? And if the receiving player is on his backhand without the option of going into a one-timer, so for example, that would be kind of a high-low pass. Player delays and the other player drives ahead and goes past the D for the deflection on goal. If that player is a backhanded receiving player, force the pass, because now that player is going to have to really catch the puck, go back onto their forehand, or have potential to lose the puck. If it's a strong hand, meaning a left-handed player is passing to a right-handed receiving player, there's a lot of control there. So you can end up being the piggy in the middle, if you will. So it's important to understand the distance and the time. And so the first thing that I would talk about is, what hand is receiving, and then if they've got that, no problem, then I would release a new piece of information, which would be, is this a high to low, a low to high, or an east-west play? And then we'd break down that piece so the goalie and the defenseman know exactly what to do in each of those particular categories to minimize the amount of thinking and more of an automated response.
Yeah,
so it's building a game plan.
You take what you're saying and make it practical to our level.
Right.
Tom Malloy, coach U13. I'm watching U13s, elite U13, so-called.
Mm-hmm.
They don't open up when they're on the off wing to be able to one-time it or no dust shoot. So
right.
they're learning that. And so as a coach, we're trying to teach 2-on-1 attacks with drive skating. And if you're on the off wing, you've got a shooting advantage. If you're on the on wing, as a coach, I've always taught you can forehand shovel the puck like a one-timer. But the knowledge of what you teach and what you do at one level or another, I'm saying in minor hockey, I think we have to teach defense to protect the middle. Dave used the term scope, spook. Dave King used bluff. Fake you're going to play the defender, and quite often the puck will come to your stick because they're going to pass it across. So those points are what I'm trying to work with minor hockey coaches. So the degree of expertise of what you're doing in the details, I guess I'm just wondering how both of you have dealt with how much information do you offer, and then how do the information that you offer relate to what the coaches are doing and what they want?
Well, that's probably one of the most important pieces. So if I'm joining a hockey team, you could let me know what level, or I can give you an example of a younger level and a pro level if you want. But if we started off with the younger level, the first thing that I would talk about would be, what is your game plan for the team as a coach? So what is going to be happening? What type of system are you going to run if there is some sort of a system? Usually in minor hockey, it's very, very, very simple and very basic. And then work on the positioning detail of what the defense would be. So if they're young, you're right. They're going to drive the net, do a drive, say a high to low pass, and they're going to deflect the puck on goal. If they do an east-west, how far are you challenging originally on the east-west? And because you're going to have to go east-west more so than if you're challenging really far out, you're going to have to travel 10 feet to get to the other part of the anchor position. So young kids, basic positioning, and recognizing high, low, low, high, east, west would be the first stage, and I wouldn't go beyond that. And Dave will probably agree with me on this one. The problem with the majority of goalie coaches is that they want to teach everything that skill has to offer all at once, and they don't need to know that. And a perfect example is a reverse VH, as we talked about during our call. You don't need to teach a reverse VH to a kid that's 10 years old, 9 years old and 10 years old if they can't butterfly and recover properly. So each of those skills gives birth to the next skill. And so you could teach them to butterfly into the post. And the only difference is that you're going to lean on one side, which is going to free one leg, and therefore you have what is the remnants of a reverse VH. Then eventually you'll get more and more detail. What should the anchor foot do? What angle should it be at? So you'd have to climb that ladder with your checklist to make sure. I have a book called it's more of a self-preservation book. It's just a workbook where a coach can go through and go, okay, I've covered that, I've covered that, I've covered that. And the goaltender also has that same book where you can go, when they're doing a skill set inventory, you could sit down and go, oh, I suck at this, I'm really good at this. And then you can formulate that plan for that particular young goalie. With a pro, it's different. I'll pre-scout that pro and identify what are the strengths, what are the opportunities for improvement, and then third, what are their tendencies that any player that's at a top level, I usually focus on the top 10% of scorers. What can they do to expose you? How can they make you move in a way that's going to unlock one of the combinations in your lock? So that's the kind of the skew of the information. For example, I was with a goaltender yesterday, 17. He's not quite a refined skater yet. And then I had a pro that was going to Utah Grizzlies camp. I was teaching him a lateral shuffle, but the glide foot becomes pivoted so that you're able to change the angles on exactly 2-on-1s. And I'm happy to share that video with you guys later on. But it's something that I've had this kid since he was 10, and he was drafted by Tampa. But you have to know what you can do based on what the goaltender's capabilities are. You have to understand, are they a good skater? Can they pivot? Can they, or is it going to be too steep of a climb? And we have to concentrate that a little bit more in the summertime when we're training. Dave?
Dave, can you comment on what we're talking about, which is having so much to offer in terms of what they might need, but what do they buy into? What do they accept? What do they embrace?
Well, I vividly remember, you're always learning about, in my first few years with the Flames, as soon as Mika Kiprasov would say, Dave, I can't be thinking out there. He was very, very good in his first few years of, taking the time and going in it, reviewing a game. And, but once the game was on, he says, I can't be thinking out there. I just need to be reacting and activating all my senses so that I just play. And that's how he was at his best. I think at the youth level hockey, U13, the maybe elite level U13, there's somebody, a good friend of mine, Ryan Honick in the U.S., his whole theme, we went for a camp there in Green Bay, and his whole theme was embrace the simplicity of the position. And that stuck with me, and I the best coaches are the best thieves. but embrace the simplicity of the position. At that age, if there is a perfect pass that goes through a defenseman's triangle and then makes it to the other side where the guy is actually with a 65 flex stick, he's able to get it away and put it above the pad, well, good for him. But to embrace the simplicity and to make it very clear that the goalie is focusing, yes, he's aware of righty, lefty on the weak side, but take the shooter and you need to make sure that that shot does not come in and score, like the direct shot. Because the chances of everything happening just perfectly right on a pass to a backdoor player driving the far post and putting it in are very, very slim. So we spend, and even like at the NHL level, you just look on a game day. The game day skates with the 2-on-1s and the 2-on-1s. I've had this conversation with, I forget his name right now, but he says the amount of 2-on-1s that are given up in a game versus the amount of times that we practice 2-on-1s, it really happens maybe 2 or 3 times a game, but we practice 2-on-1s on game day every single time, and it doesn't really happen that much in terms of in game. So you look bad on a 2-on-1 when, for example, Connor McDavid is opening up his hips and he's looking past all the way and he just sends a quick release underneath Jacob Markstrom. I still have that clip and I use it in all my goalie camps. You need to embrace the simplicity and do your job. And that shooter is the most important guy out there. So that to me is a big, big thing. You have a randomness in hockey that you don't have in football or in baseball in a controlled, slow-paced environment or where they have breaks and stuff. There's a lot of randomness and pucks hit skates and stuff. So you can't be complicating the game more than it is and embrace the simplicity of the position.
Can either of you talk about goalies cheating situations, giving up space? Do you know what I'm referring to? Is
Like
that
trying to bait somebody, you mean?
yeah?
The odds are stacked against you now, because as Dave was alluding to with the flex and the stick, the one thing that's gone better and better and better and better is the sticks. The kick points in the sticks. The releases have gotten better. They've gotten better at masking their releases, which is critical to a goaltender's success. So if you bait now, you might pay a price a little bit more. Now, if you're talking younger kids, we just got to remember that I have to adjust my coaching. I'm sure Dave does for goalies that live in Western Canada because of the Western Hockey League draft being so young. So they have to learn a little bit more information as quickly as they can, because once they get to that level, if they don't have the ability to read the play, that it becomes much more difficult. But I would say it'd be very difficult to cheat, and I don't encourage the goaltenders that I work with to cheat. I tell them 2 things: expect your opposition to be perfect every time. Doesn't matter what you read in the newspaper that someone's injured or this or that. Expect them to be perfect, and for you have to honor every shot no matter what. Because if you dump a puck in 200 feet, I've seen Corey Crawford miss the puck. We've all seen goalies miss the puck from 200 feet, as they ice the puck in the National Hockey League. It happens. So those 2 things are absolutely critical. But leading to the point that Dave said so eloquently was the fact that when I was at the Dallas Stars camp in 2013, we had goalies from all over the world there, different goalies, but we all talked to them separately. And the one thing that they don't want is they don't want anything in their head. So they use music to get into I kind of use it like this. Your job as a goalie coach is to get them to feel something, get them to feel invincible, get them to feel simplicity. And when you fall in love with the simplistics of the game that Dave was talking about, you can't add things to a goaltender's movement, and the higher you go, the less time you have. So the movement has to become much quicker, involve less of your body to recruit energy to move you, things like that. So, by using your glove to move here, or trying to move away from the puck to move toward the puck like they do in a lot of T pushes, that has to be removed from the game very quickly.
I've got another question here, and working with coaches. I know in minor hockey we've got goalie coaches, and I don't know if the coaches talk to goalie coaches about what they're doing. They just let them be, and that's it. What is the what the relationship of a coaching staff of a minor hockey team to the goalie? What level of appreciation, collaboration is necessary at that young age to get the best possible result?
Well, I think communication is key. Obviously, I see a goalie coach now, and we need to, as goalie coaches, throughout the years, I've learned that you need to see yourself and you need to say that you are a hockey coach specialized in goaltending. And when you're a hockey coach specialized in goaltending, now you're even more so part of the coaching staff, because you're not on your own island. Last time I checked, this is a team game, and football is on right now, NFL football, and you have these D-zone coordinators. And to me, if everybody is open and willing to share and ask questions, I mean, the best relationship that I've had in terms of spending time and asking questions was in Carolina with Steve Smith. I learned so much from Steve Smith as a defenseman coach, only because we were both two single guys that were in an apartment complex in Carolina, and then we'd just go at the end of a practice day or whatever, we'd go have a bottle of wine and share some, Dave, what are you thinking? What is Cam Ward thinking right now? And like Noah Hannafin, Noah was starting his career. We had Jacob Slavin and Pesci and those guys. We had the best top 3 penalty kill in the National Hockey League from 2014 to 2017. We were top 3 in the NHL. We were not ready to win and make playoffs, but the communication and the coordination that we had, understanding that how can we spend less time on a penalty kill in our own zone? We have this elite puck handling goalie in Cam Ward that can use a lot of fakes and all that. How can we quickly get out? Where can we pressure the players so that we would stand up at the blue line with the 1-3 penalty kill, just stand them up and force the dump in. And from there, we had activated the plan where Bordeaux was going behind the net to stop it. And then Jacob Slavin was very quick to go on the backside. So all that coordination and all, you need to be talking. And I just really love spending time in front of a TV screen, watching video, and sharing ideas. And if anything, compared to my time with the Flames around Daryl Sutter, for example, there was no debate, no questioning. It was his way. But in Carolina, we had those moments that we could share and ask questions. And what do you think of this? And what is he thinking? And that made a huge difference in terms of D-zone coordination.
Pasco, can you comment on that? I don't know how many head coaches you've worked with at an elite level that allowed you to provide input allowed you to question, inquire, and in fact collaborate together in terms of creating strategies like Dave's talked about.
Well, that's
The dump in so that because of the strength of your goalie, you're preventing the attack, not letting them across the river, so they're going to dump. But that seems to have come from the defensive coach working with the goalie coach to becoming a team strategy. That seems to me to make sense.
well, it was a secret to what we did at UBC, going from 1-27 to winning 6 championships in 10 years. But it's a rare thing. I'll start off with this. The coach or head coach is the decision maker, and it's either going to be he or her that's going to allow people to bring their A game to the table so that they can give the person the best opportunity or chance to win. So when I worked with Perry Pern on the national team, I said to Perry, let's talk about your system, what you have envisioned in your head for what success is. And then as he was sharing his information, then it was about putting together the plan that would complement his plan. That's why I went and took the Hockey Canada Level 1 and Level 2 coaching certification, because I wanted to understand what was going through the head coach's head and try to create that piece of the puzzle that he or she may miss, so that we have the ability to kind of use everybody as strength. So I kind of use the 5-finger rule. Everyone's individually they're very strong, but if I grab your finger, we can break it. But if we make it a fist, then it's very difficult to break one anchor of that. And I'm sure you guys have heard that cliche in the past, but the main objective here is that I had a coach in Graham Thomas that would say, hey, Pascal, what do you think? What are we doing here? What about this? What do you see in the offense? What do you see in the defense? And it's a lot more fun for us, and we can share our knowledge about what we see, because it's nice to have an educated set of eyes watching. Whereas some coaches, like Dave was referring to, the goalie coach is basically like on a totem pole, and the only thing you see from a goalie coach is their hair sticking out of the dirt. You don't see the goalie coach. You see the head coach, your general manager. You see the assistants, and so forth. So, you've got an array of coaches, and it depends on how much they're allowing you the opportunity to participate within that group environment. But I found that we were always way more successful in my 30 years working together. And like Dave was saying, and I heard Billy Ranford say this in the past too. It's like you're a head coach. Your job is to be a coach with a specialization in defense, or a specialization in goaltending, or a specialization in power play.